Hi everyone, welcome back. My name is Amoria, and today we will be talking about double standards and hypocrisy that I experienced while I was one of Jehovah's Witnesses. I've already covered the story of what led to me leaving and then me leaving. For about 6 months after that, I was still somewhat confused about if I had left the truth or not. And there came a point where I was dealing with such intense grief that I started to listen to the Kingdom melodies again because I wanted comfort. I wanted to connect back to that world somehow because I'd already been banished from it. During this very intense grief, I ended up deciding I wanted to try to go back. I didn't fully believe it anymore, but I was missing everyone so much, and I felt like I would have a better quality of life if I went back, faked it just to be with my friends, and then separately on the outside had my own beliefs. Now, I would never do that, but this was almost 4 years ago, and again, I was dealing with really intense grief. Some other details: after I had left, I created a GoFundMe for college. I ended up raising about like $1,500, something around there, so that I could pay for 1 semester of school. The GoFundMe had been labeled something like "Help Me Leave a Cult," something along those lines. That was in January of 2021. I tried to return around July of 2021. During those about 6 months from when I left to when I tried to return, the young ones and other brothers and sisters spread my GoFundMe amongst themselves. I hadn't been disfellowshipped, but that was the reason that they decided to ignore me. They reasoned I was already apostate. During this 1 week of very intense grief in July of 2021, I reached out to my elders and I told them I want to come back. They immediately tried to schedule an elders meeting with me, which I was a little hesitant to go into. In the meantime, I started to reach out to my friends and let them know, hey, I actually want to come back. Around this time as well, I posted on XJW Reddit saying I'm gonna go back for the purpose of waking up my friends so that they would leave this cult as well. The comments that I got were not supportive, and now I understand why. A lot of them were telling me to just move on with my life, that it's not a good idea, and I completely agree now. However, the main point of this story is some young one in my circuit, 13A in California, found that XJW Reddit post and spread all of the posts that I had made amongst the young ones in my circuit. The 8 friends, including my ex and best friends, engaged in this and helped spread it. I had 3 girl best friends, 2 secondary girl best friends, and 3 guy best friends, including my ex. All 8 of them engaged in taking part in shunning me because of my XJW Reddit posts. I don't know who found the posts. I don't know how they convinced everyone else that it was okay for them to be viewing apostate material, enough to the point to where they could put together that it was me, because Reddit is anonymous. I don't know who found that and who originally started spreading it, and I've already been angry for years, so I don't want this video to be about my anger. But let me be clear. After years of intense pain and growth, I have learned to come to a place where I'm able to forgive the people who betrayed me. But please do not take that as a sign of weakness. I choose to be kind and nice to the people who hurt me the most. I don't have to behave that way. I choose to. But I do not excuse that behavior by any means. And one day, I'm sure that that person, whoever that was, will pay the price for what they did. It's behavior like that that is so frustrating for me as an XJW, because I can look back and also recognize that behavior within myself before I left. I engaged in behavior like that with my twin sister. It's not that I am better than anyone who betrayed me, because I did the same stuff too. It's just that now that I experienced it and was on the receiving end, now I understand how absolutely fucked up that was to behave that way and to treat someone else that way. Especially someone I claimed to love, my own twin sister. I don't know how Jehovah's Witnesses convince themselves that engaging in behavior like that is loving. The cognitive dissonance that has to go on in your brain to tell yourself that you are doing something kind and loving for the person that you're shunning is wild. So I had been going through 6 months of intense grief mourning my 8 best friends, only for me to try to return and for them to treat me that way. I want to add one really important detail, because generally that behavior I could have excused because hypothetically my friends didn't know the reason why I left. However, my ex knew that I left because of injustice. And one of my girl best friends, I told her that I was assaulted. She told me to try to appeal it. So 2 people, my ex and this one best friend, knew I left being a Jehovah's Witness because I was treated unfairly. I wasn't disfellowshipped. I didn't do something to get myself kicked out. I was assaulted. That's it. I genuinely thought that I was going to come back to the loving organization that we're all taught about, right? Return to Jehovah, right? And then when I do try to, regardless of the reason, right? Because we're taught off the platform that sometimes people can come back for the wrong reasons and then change course. Is that not true? But I was shunned by my best friends, by the young ones in my circuit. These are regular pioneers, ministerial servants, young ones that held privileges, that held very high social status within my circuit. For as much as we talk about Jehovah's Witnesses being the most loving people on the earth, I did not experience that whatsoever. In fact, I have never, ever experienced betrayals to the extent that I did as a Jehovah's Witness by other Jehovah's Witnesses. To spread my GoFundMe, my Reddit posts, to meet up and have a dinner conversing with each other about how you're going to ignore me is, I don't even have the words for that. Honestly, maybe that's what it took for me to realize that is not somewhere where God dwells whatsoever. That is not godly behavior. If they can sleep at night, convince themselves that was godly behavior, all power to you. This is part of the reason why I'm an activist. Now I understand that if you choose to throw the most vulnerable person under the bus, it's going to happen to you one day. I regret treating people like that, including my twin, like that so much. There's nothing I can do to go back in time and change that. All I can do is move forward, make better choices, respect people more genuinely. But honestly, it's still horrifying to look back on. To know that I did that to someone who is literally supposed to be the closest human being to me on this earth, that I did that to her too. Experiencing both was eventually instrumental in me deciding to leave. Had I not also done that myself to my twin, I think I'd probably hate my 8 best friends now. When I was ready to leave, my twin still decided to essentially rehabilitate me into the real world, despite me not deserving that. So maybe my 8 best friends who engaged in backstabbing me don't deserve my forgiveness necessarily, but it doesn't do me any good to hold on to that anger anyway. And like I've said before, these decisions don't happen in a vacuum. I understand the indoctrination that leads to people behaving this way. I would just hope that they've changed and that they've grown, that they won't treat people this way anymore, and that regardless of doctrine and policy, that they'll just treat people as humans.